Hey everyone, welcome to Historified. We are in the wonderful month of April and we have an exciting episode for you. I'm
Yep.
Annie.
And I'm Jamie.
This is Historified, where we spill the tea on McKinney's history. So there you go, Jamie. Tink.
Dink is right.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about some historic places in McKinney that you can visit. One is the Bradley Cemetery, and the other one is the old Collin County Jailhouse. So I believe, Jamie, you have stuff tea to spill.
Well, we should specify you can go visit these places, but you can't go in either one of them.
Right.
So,
Well, you might be able to sneak into the Bradley Cemetery, but I don't know if you want to do that or not.
yeah, I really think that they have it marked off. It's
Mhm.
always closed and locked every time I had gone by it. And the only time I ever saw anybody in it was just like when they were cleaning it up.
Right. Yeah.
So, which they do every once in a while.
Yeah. And then the jailhouse, yeah, you can't go in there. It's an office building right now. Someday I hope to figure out who is in charge of that and kind of get a sneak peek inside, because I was inside it once. But let's go ahead and talk about the exciting Bradley Cemetery.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to pull up my notes here because there
Okay.
is a lot of info on it.
Yeah.
And it was really fascinating. I'm basically just going to read what I have thrown together.
Okay.
And I do want to say that I'm going to touch a little bit on who the Bradley Cemetery is named after. But, when you go anytime way in the past before McKinney became McKinney, just not a lot of records. So I pulled from the internet what I could find from other
Mhm.
historians looking into it, how accurate it is. It's just really hard to tell. So, because again, there just weren't records. And you and I, Annie, we know that doing, digging into history, even just a Chestnut Square, we have people who are like, who's that? Where are they? What happened?
Where'd that come from?
Exactly. So the
Yeah.
Bradley Cemetery, with as old as it definitely has like, is this, what is accurate of it? But I do have some tea on it, which I think a lot of the older McKinney residents, what I mean by older is those who have been there, longer, may already know. And Annie, you and I have talked about it on like our ghost trolley tour.
Yes.
So Bradley Cemetery is one of them that did this. So, okay,
Ooh.
here we go. So Bradley Cemetery stands as a historical site connected not just to one individual, but to the broader pattern of migration, settlement, and community formation in early North Texas. It is one of the earliest burial grounds in McKinney, dating to about the 1850s. So
Okay.
the cemetery began as a family burial ground on land owned by Edward Bradley. So there you have Bradley Cemetery. And he was an early settler in the Peters Colony. And over time, the cemetery expanded to include other early settlers from the surrounding community. So Bradley and his family migrated from Kentucky in the 80s and settled near Wilson Creek in what
Okay.
is now McKinney. Of course, we know, that would have been at the outskirts.
Right.
So, originally about 1 acre in size, the cemetery was later used by other early community members, and today only about 11 original marked headstones remain, though there are additional unmarked graves.
Wow.
Local historical documentation estimates there may be around 100.
Wow, and that's in that small plot of cemetery?
Well, this is where the tea is going to be coming in a little
Ooh.
bit.
Okay.
So maybe around 100 burials, though this cannot be fully verified because many markers are missing. So historical records, and we're not going to go into this because I feel like this needs its own if we dig into it, but historical records also indicate a separate burial ground for enslaved individuals located
Okay.
south of the main cemetery. And this area was marked with the Boydiar wood stakes, but the
Okay.
exact boundaries and the number of burials are also unknown in that area.
Right. Is that what's across the street?
Yes, and it has
Okay.
its own historical little marker.
Yes, it
Really
does.
hoping, I think If I remember right, when I last looked at it, the marker was in really bad condition, but I could have sworn they were working on getting a
I
new
think they
one.
redid it because I just passed it today and it looks a lot better. It looks
Okay,
newer, the
that's
marker.
good.
Yeah.
So by the early 20th century, the cemetery had fallen into neglect, and some remains were exhumed and moved.
Ooh.
Yes.
Okay.
Around 1906, at least 11 graves were relocated because of a proposed railroad, which was never built.
Oh, okay.
And
Hmm.
yeah, and earlier accounts also suggest that many burials were moved to Pecan Grove Cemetery, though not all. And
Mhm.
despite these disturbances, the site is now preserved the Texas Historical Marker, which was installed in 1986.
Oh, good. Okay.
So there is a list of those known who are buried in the cemetery itself. And of course, Edward Bradley is buried in there, who it was named after.
Is he still there?
He is still there,
He's still
and
there. Okay.
so is his wife, Nancy. Actually, I see two. No, this is it. So Edward was the first one buried there, followed by a Dr. David McClay.
Okay.
And then followed after that was a mother and child who passed 1 month apart from each other.
Oh.
So, and it's sad. And, we see that a lot in these older cemeteries because life was
Mhm.
hard and we didn't have modern medicine or anything along those lines. Because he was buried in 1855. There was a Milton Cooper that died the same day as Edward Bradley. But the important thing is it was named after Edward Bradley.
There you
And even though I have this really short list, this is the only ones known.
go. Okay.
So yeah, it's not a complete burial list. One does not exist, and many graves were unmarked or markers have been lost, and some remains were relocated. And
Right.
so that's just really interesting. So let me tell you a little bit about Edward Bradley because it's kind of, yeah, I mean, why not, right? Who is
Well,
this
yeah.
person
It's
that
named
that
after
the
him.
cemetery is named after? So little is known of his early years, but it is generally believed that he migrated with his family from North Carolina into Kentucky through the
Mhm.
Cumberland Gap, and in 1814 he married Nancy Shelton in Warren County, Kentucky. The two met at Nancy's sister Sarah's wedding. And that connection would matter later because Sarah and her husband, John Fitzhugh, eventually joined the Bradleys in their move to Texas as part of the Peters colony.
Okay. That's a familiar last name.
So,
Fitzhugh.
well, wait till I'm going to give you a really familiar last name eventually. So, like many families of the time, the Bradleys did not stay in one place for long. They were among the early settlers in the area that would become Russellville, Kentucky, and then by the early 1820s, they had moved west again, settling in Missouri near present day Boonville, and there they raised their 5 children. All 5 children later migrated to Texas, settling with or near their parents in Collin County, and almost all of them received individual land grants.
Oh, okay.
So Edward Bradley, he was a surveyor and he arrived in McKinney in 1842 from Missouri. And because he was a surveyor and possessed a skill vital to the establishment of the new Republic of Texas, he was introduced to migrate to Texas by that land grant of 640 acres to
Okay.
those that were coming to Peter's colony. At the time, he was 55 years old and he was the father of 5 grown children.
Okay.
So he eventually patented his 640 acres in Collin County and two 320-acre tracts along the old Denton McKinney Road.
Okay.
And at that time, the Edward Bradley survey adjoined the town of McKinney. Today, it lies within the city limits, including Finch Park.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he
So
owned all that land.
he did. He did own
Okay.
all that land. He was also described as a farmer in a newspaper clipping because his farming was said to have been disrupted when he enlisted for military service. And he
Oh.
enlisted in the Mexican American War.
Okay. Okay.
And I know we had
Yeah.
done some digging into that of those in Collin County that were part of
Mhm.
that war. And so he was part of that war. He did serve. So Edward Bradley's house no longer stands, but older family members recalled it as a log house on the east side of the hill, well on the branch of Wilson Creek. Clarence Hill, who was the son of Tuck Hill,
Oh,
later identified the exact location of the house just before he passed. Clarence Hill passed in 1969.
okay, okay.
Which is crazy to think, because we know Tuck Hill. Who doesn't know Tuck Hill, who has been living in McKinney for a while? That
Right,
in 1969, he still had a son living. That's just crazy to
right.
me.
That's amazing. Yeah, yeah. How old was he when he died?
He was, I think he was close to 90 or in his 90s.
So Clarence was in his 90s when he passed?
Yes, I think he was around
Okay.
89, 90, if I
Wow,
remember
okay.
correctly from the newspaper article I read. So he later identified the exact location of the house. The creek branch still runs under Howell Street, just east and parallel to Waddle Street. I think that's where the house was located, was
Oh,
right in
okay,
that
okay,
spot.
yeah.
After Edward's death in 1855, his wife Nancy acquired his land,
Oh,
which is
okay.
very interesting. We hear a lot
That
of
is
history on
interesting.
what women had the rights or who didn't. I think you and I have found it's always a case by case
Right, yeah.
issue on what women were able to obtain or not obtain back then. It was definitely a case by case. And so she did acquire the land and preserve the property and the family cemetery. Portions of the land later became part of McKinney as the town grew, and they maintain a historical footprint of the Edward Bradley survey. So
Okay.
I think if we go back in some of the maps, we could probably see where that Edward Bradley
Bradley, yeah.
survey was.
Yeah, I think I've seen it on some maps. That name sounds very familiar. The
Okay.
Bradley. Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy that when he joined the war he enlisted for the Mexican American War. He was
Mhm.
59 years old,
Wow.
which I think nowadays it's hard to imagine that, right? A 59-year-old
Right,
old signing up to go serve, but he was 59. He volunteered
right.
for active duty. And I know you're going to recognize some of this. So he served for 6 months as a private in a local army regiment. He rode at the border of the Indian
Mhm.
Frontier, an area just
Yeah.
west of Fort Worth, and he served under Captain Andrew Stapp.
Okay.
So I know that's come up before in some of
Mhm.
our research when we were looking at other family members
Yeah.
or other individuals, other citizens of McKinney in the past.
Mhm.
It really is the only regiment from Collin County, so that's
Right.
why that name would come up all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, during the time
It
that he enlisted, July 24th, 1846, he didn't enlist in McKinney because McKinney wasn't a city yet. He had to enlist in
okay.
Buckner.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he just basically served. He was primarily protecting the settlements in the area. And
Okay.
for his service, he received 40 more acres,
Oh, wow.
and he received them in 1850.
Okay.
There are some reports that suggest that he lost a leg during the war, but there is no way to verify if that's a legend or fact.
Okay. Okay.
And then I have a little note on it just kind of goes back into the cemetery legacy of how after his death, he was buried on his property that started the cemetery. Over time, other family members and other early settlers were laid to rest there. And so what began as a private family cemetery developed into Bradley Cemetery.
Okay.
And it's one of the earliest known burial grounds tied directly to founding families of McKinney.
Okay.
And as mentioned, some graves are marked, some were not. Over the time, over time, there's just a lot of neglect
Right.
to the cemetery. There were relocations of remains, not just, and I know we are talking about the railroad, but I also know, and I didn't find it in this most recent research on Bradley Cemetery, but I'd done it before for our ghost trolley tour,
Mhm.
that more remains were moved for Wilson Creek Road.
Right. Well, they had to be. Yeah.
They had to be moved.
Right.
Hopefully they didn't just move the headstones.
Oh, yeah.
So, um, I don't know if I should read this. little excerpt that I found in another paper clipping that actually the city of McKinney has it on one of their sites. It just kind of goes into the history of the graves that were moved and
Okay.
who was moved and of those that they could identify.
Right.
I don't know, some of it's a little graphic.
Okay. Go ahead. Spill the
Should
tea.
I? Should
Yes.
I? Okay, let me All right, I'm gonna read this really, really fast. There it is. Okay. So, actually, it's a lot to read. I hope our audience is not going to be bored. So, back in on November 24th, 1921, Clint Thompson with the McKinney Examiner, he did a little article. And he was going on about other things first. So I'm not going to go on what the article was talking about previously, but I'll talk about when he starts talking about Bradley Cemetery. So a little southwest of Finch Park is on top of the hill, a beautiful or was location for a silent city. It is or what is left, Bradley Graveyard. In it was buried members of Ed and T.T. Bradley families and many others of the early settlers who died prior to 1876, but is abandoned now. All the bodies, except about half a dozen that could be located or who had relatives to move them, were taken up about 20 years ago and reinterred in Pecan Grove Cemetery. We do not think anybody has been buried there since that of Uncle Tom Bradley, who died in 1876. The Bradleys owned hundreds of acres of land in and adjoining our city, and if you will look at your deed, you'll perhaps note that it is out of our original Ed Bradley or T.T. Bradley survey. Well, these were pioneers. Long have they been sleeping, and their bodies have returned to the dust of Mother Earth. We remember Uncle Tom Bradley. He lived just west of the late home of Mayor Finch in an old-timey house, which, as the property of Mrs. S.H. Buck, was torn down several years ago after having stood the blasts of 60 winters. As we walked slowly along the dust road, we happened to catch a glimpse of what looked like a tombstone. Then the flood of memories of the long ago went through our mind, and we recalled that was the old graveyard that we had visited with companions over 40 years ago. The laying out of the streets and building of homes and interurbans and pikes had changed the topography of the land, but the thicket looked familiar, and we decided to investigate. Tired and homeward bound, but we were in the bond, so we climbed that hill and slope, which there isn't a hill anymore,
Right. I can't
within
imagine
the
a hill in McKinney,
I
but
know. I'm like, what hill? So we climbed the hill and slope within the sacred precincts. Excuse me. It is a grass and cow pasture now. No fence protects the graves. Here and there were graves, long since opened graves now about filled. That's how it's written.
wow.
An occasional wrecked yard fence that had protected someone's grave, and half a dozen tombstones roughly hewn from sandstone and discolored with age, fallen partially or entirely down, and in some instances broken off. We took from the inscriptions verbatim as follows. Then there's a list of those that were still
Mhm.
existing of the tombstones 1924.
Okay.
When this was written. It was in the McKinney Democrat where they're actually talking about the first bodies exhumed for the railroad.
Okay.
I know. The work of taking up dead bodies along the survey of the TNM&P Railroad, which runs through Old Cemetery and Kirkpatrick's pasture southwest of McKinney, was commenced this morning by Humphrey Barbour and a force of workmen in the employ of Fry and Luttergarding, the contractors. 11 bodies were removed, only 4 of which were identified. They were those of Milton Wilkerson. He's one of Collin County's oldest settlers, and his daughter, Mrs. Hacker, and 2 children of another daughter, Mrs. Pack O'Brien, formerly of this city, but now living in California. Mrs. O'Brien is the widow of Pack O'Brien, a brother to D.W. O'Brien of the city, who superintended the taking up of the bodies, which will be interred in Pecan Grove Cemetery by the side of Mrs. J.A. Massey, stepmother of Burl, Sam, and Tom Massey. Wow. Talk about run-on sentences.
Yes.
Another daughter of Mr. Wilkerson and her daughter, Mrs. O.M. Calhoun. The bones of all of the bodies taken up were in fairly good state of preservation. Mrs. Hacker had some gold filled teeth at the time of her death 38 years ago, and the gold was still bright,
Oh, I wonder if the gold's still there.
as was the inscription plates on several of the coffins, which were pretty well decayed. Mr. Wilkinson had been buried 41 years, and it just like ended there, and probably for good reason.
Right.
But I don't know. I can't imagine that job.
No.
I mean, the coffins were just
Oh, they were falling
wood,
apart. Yeah.
right? Just boidyard and wood. And maybe, Armstead Taylor helped make them. Who knows?
Right. Right.
So that's crazy. But I did give you a little tease, and I did say that there was a name that somehow I don't know why it didn't end up in my full-on notes that would
Hmm.
sound very familiar. And it turns out that Edward Bradley's granddaughter married John Fair's grandson.
There
So
you go.
there is a link of the Bradley and the Fairs
There's
families.
family. Well, and then Massey, we have a bunch of Massey family things here at Chestnut Square. I think they were linked to the Johnsons and because we have pictures of their children in front of the Johnson house, the Massey family.
Okay. I think
So,
I vaguely remember that. Vaguely. Because we have a lot of pictures.
yes, we do. But the Masseys they owned a whole bunch of different things, but one of them was they were a funeral home, the Massey
Oh,
Funeral
that's
Home.
right. I
Yeah.
remember that now. Now
Yeah.
I remember that.
So I wonder
So
if
I
that's the
just found
same,
that
that has
interesting.
to be the same Massey or part of that family.
I would think so. I did fall down a little rabbit hole because not only did Ed Bradley's granddaughter marry a Fairs, but
Mhm.
another granddaughter married a McKinney, but it's not related. They're not
Okay.
related to Collin McKinney. So I had to do all this little research,
Right,
all
of a
this little
different
side,
McKinney. Yeah,
looking up at family records and who's
right.
they're the daughter of and whoever, so on, so on. And so I did come across that even though it had the same last name, was not related to Colin McKinney. So
Oh, okay.
I was like, okay, well, I had to verify it was something
Right,
either worth to mention or not worth to mention.
right. Well, there you go.
So yeah.
See, I
So
think that was interesting.
well, thank you. I thought it was interesting. I love old cemeteries. I don't know, it's
Yes.
where our past meets the present. Just
Right,
like at
right.
Chestnut Square, it's where the past meets the present. The cemetery is also one of those. And,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
and I, of course, respect them. And,
Mhm.
Bradley's cemetery is closed off for a reason because the grave markers in there are really, really old.
Yes, yeah.
And I think they're just trying to preserve what is left
What
there.
yeah. I think there's a big angel statue in there, isn't there?
There
Over
is.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I'd love to see that up, closer.
I wonder if I didn't find any information on that. And I wonder because the articles that, I just read, they don't feel like anybody was buried there past 1875. And it's obviously a newer statue. So I wonder
Right.
if it was a dedication to those that were buried there because there's
Maybe,
no
I don't know.
markers.
Yeah.
So
It
I
could
don't
have been
know.
erected by family whose family was, exhumed and then reburied
Yeah. I
into Plum
mean,
Grove. Yeah.
it's, yeah, I've
But
always been a
unless you
little
can get
bummed
in
it's
there and get
locked.
up close, you're not gonna be able
Yeah.
to see it.
I've always been bummed that it's locked because I would love to just stroll around and just appreciate it for what it is
Mm.
and kind of
Yeah.
like,
But you also
but
know that there's a lot of people who don't have that respect
I know,
that
I
we
know.
have.
And that's
And
why,
that's why,
you-
yeah, it's
yeah, and
locked.
that's why I wanted to say in the beginning when we started this episode, it's like, you can't go in these places.
Right.
We're going to
Yeah.
talk about it. You can visit it. You can,
See it
see
from
the
the
history
outside.
from the sidewalk.
Mhm.
You can just walk right
Yeah.
by it. And you can still appreciate the history for what it is without stepping foot on no
Right.
on the grounds. So,
Didn't
but
a
the fact
car
that
last year drive over that fence though? There was a car accident that drove into Bradley Cemetery. I think I
I
remember passing it.
believe so. And then the time when we had tree damage at Chestnut Square last year, they had tree damage at the cemetery as well.
Yeah, yeah,
I could have sworn. I think you're right. I think there was a car that ended up crashing into the fence.
yeah.
Yeah. So don't go speeding down the streets, people.
No,
So, and
especially
that's
not
right off
Wilson Creek.
Wilson Creek Road. It's right down from McKinney High School. And
Mhm.
there's a church, the Salvation Army, I believe, is right
Yes.
next to it.
Yeah.
And so, you can just park and just, you know, respectfully walk
Yes.
outside the fence on the sidewalk. And you can still see the markers. You can't see what they say from the
Mhm.
sidewalk. At least I couldn't, but they're so old.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. You can some of those you can't even if you get right up to them, you'd have to do the rubbing,
right.
but you can't get in there, so. Well, that's
So it does.
interesting.
Yeah, thank you. It
Yeah.
does have a historic marker, but there's a little part of McKinney history right there,
There you
telling it to
go.
you.
Woohoo! Yay. That's very interesting. I love going by old cemeteries, and I love going when I can, going into old cemeteries and just
Hmm.
seeing all of the different markers and who is buried there, and yeah. So cemeteries are interesting to me.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah. Not not in a spooky way. I really love the history of people.
I don't know
Okay.
about you. Wait, I'm going to say something before you go on.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but I feel like when I walk in a cemetery and I say their name, I'm kind of like, I
Oh,
don't
you're
know them, but
remembering them.
I'm kind of remembering them. I'm kind of
Yeah.
giving them a little, hey, I know you existed.
Right.
So
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
on a different note, I was cleaning yesterday up in Bobby's room. I was dusting and I kind of just looked at him and looked at his picture and looked at the flag that we have that was from his funeral that we went to. And I just said, "Hey, Bobby, you know, we're keeping up your stuff." So, you know, I maybe I'm weird. I don't know. But
Nope.
and that's why I love the military banners that we do because I love walking
Yeah.
past them and I love just the really, really old ones. I love saying their name
Yeah.
just because they're history and they're alive. So yeah.
Yeah.
Um
I love that.
yeah. So we're gonna go from the cemetery to another thing that we do on our haunted trolley tour that I'm not gonna get into like the details of, the same stories or anything, but I went down the rabbit hole of the Collin County Jailhouse, the original Collin County Jailhouse that was designed by F.E. Raffini. It's a Victorian Italianate structure, not really sure what that is, but Raffini sounds Italian to me. And it served as our county prison for 99 years. So almost 100 years. I wish it could have gotten to 100
I was
years,
gonna
but
say they couldn't do one more year. One more
exactly.
year, make it
One
100.
more, just shove them on in there. It was completed in 1880 and it was modified again in 1938. And it is one of the few F.E. Raffini structures that's left in the state. So F.E. Raffini was an architect and he designed a lot of buildings. And some of them that were built throughout Texas, I don't know which ones of these are still standing. One is the old Blanco County Courthouse in Blanco, Texas, the Millet Opera House in Austin, Texas, Bass County Courthouse, the Concho County Courthouse, the Robertson County Courthouse and Jail in Franklin, Texas, and the St. Angelo National Bank. Um, I don't know. Again, I don't know which ones are still standing, but ours is. Yay, Raffini. It was built in a T design. It was a T layout. I've been in there once when it was a restaurant, and it was such a cool restaurant to be in. You got to sit, your table was in a jail cell, or some of the tables were, you could sit in the jail cell, and they had unique that the bars, instead of being round, they were flat or
Oh,
they were
that's
kind of
cool.
rectangular. So that was cool to sit in there. And that's another thing of history. Another cool thing that I found was that the stone was quarried 3 miles east of McKinney in Squeeze Penny, Texas, which isn't there anymore. But what a
I
fun
love the
name.
name.
I want to live in Squeeze Penny, Texas. I need to find out where that was.
You can squeeze Penny, Texas.
We lived in Squeeze Penny. My husband named it. He squeezes the penny. I can't get a new dress. So that stone, a lot of the times we say, oh, it was from, well, a lot of the trees that were brought in to build houses were from Jefferson, Texas, or were from someplace else. But 3 miles east, we had Squeeze Penny, Texas. Who knew? In 1884, the land around the jail was purchased from Mrs. W.E. Crouch. That's a name that we
Oh,
know.
yeah. Yeah, Crouch.
In 1899, there were 4 new prison cells built. And in 1908, I thought that this name is cool too. Boss Apple was paid $6 to wallpaper 3 rooms. Wallpapering's not easy, but I guess $6 in 1938 was a good sum of money. In I don't in 1922, Ezell Step was hung in gallows that were built right next to the courthouse, or not the courthouse, the jailhouse. And he was the last official legal hanging in Collin County, and he was one of the last hangings in a county, because in 1922 the state took over the hangings.
Okay.
So I thought I didn't realize that, but the state took over hangings in 1922. And then in 1979, state prison codes, um, and an increased jail population caused the jail to close, and they moved it. So it forced the closure of the buildings, and then it kind of became in disarray and disrepair. Um, in 1900, new steel cells were erected, and they were kind of erected over the old cells, and so it looked like they were double deckered. I don't know how that, or double,
Oh,
I don't know how that would have looked. But they had a coolant system, I think, in it. So they were a lot
okay.
cooler, and more comfortable. And the prison now had electricity in 1900. And then there is a dungeon cell in the courthouse, or in that jailhouse, and a trap door arrangement for carrying out executions. And I read that, I'm like,
What?
did they carry out the execution, or is that where they went down, and where that tunnel is that goes under the, I don't know. But it said carried out
Oh,
executions. I'm like, okay, well, we need to,
legal?
I
Legal
who knows?
executions?
I don't know. I need to, like, look that up. Um
Wow. Okay.
so after it
Ooh.
closed down in 1979, it was a restaurant. It was a bookstore. I don't remember it being a bookstore. That must have been before my time. It's been an art gallery, and it's currently a private office. And isn't it an attorney's office?
No,
Oh,
last I knew, it was an attorney's office, and then not an attorney, an accountant.
oh, accounting. Yes. Okay.
And then he sold it, and I believe it is a tech company that owns it now, and they use it as their office.
Okay. Okay.
Not like a big tech, not like a big name, like,
Yeah.
but
Like we would know, but yeah.
yes.
Um, well, if any of you all who work in that building are watching us, because we're awesome, we would like to maybe tour inside your building. We'll give you the history if you let us tour.
I was able to go in when the new owners first bought it.
Oh, okay.
So, and that was the first time I ever got to go in
Okay.
it, and they were still just moving in, so I'd be really curious on what they've unearthed.
Right. Well, didn't they turn part of it into a bar? Isn't there like a bar in there? I guess where the restaurant bar was, they kept it.
Yes, they said they were just gonna keep it. It was, like, all the way in the back of the
Yeah.
building, and there was, like, this big bar,
Okay.
and they were joking about it, but they're like, "We might just end up keeping it."
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
there
think
you
that
go.
had to have been from the restaurant.
Yeah, that
So,
had to have been from the restaurant.
it's a big bar kind of, like, table. It'd be a lot to move it out. I wouldn't wanna deal with it
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah. And then some of the famous inmates were Frank James, that we talk about a lot. Ray Hamilton, who was part of the Barrow Gang, and this cracked me up. I'm going to wait till you're done and swallow.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, because they said that he proved his criminal ineptitude by finding a way to get arrested within 5 minutes of arriving into a town. So I guess he was
That's
inept.
hilarious.
Isn't that
That's
hilarious?
so funny.
So how was he part of the Bonnie and Clyde gang? I have no idea. But there is a bar upstairs near where the kitchen used to be that is sawn halfway through, courtesy of Ray. So he tried to saw through the bars to escape.
I did
Um,
read that. I did know that. Yes.
yeah, yeah. But I guess he wasn't a very good criminal. And then Charles Tex Watson, who was part of the Manson family,
Yeah.
and for the Tate LeBlanc murders, he was housed there for a time, and he is actually from Farmersville. So that was interesting to me. So
Farmersville?
Farmersville. Come on, Farmersville. So that's just a little bit of history, and it does have a historic marker as well. But, you know, Frank James was there for a while. He was in one of the suites that they called it. And it was just really, it was neat for me to go down that rabbit hole. And now I know a little bit more about Ruffini and some of his other buildings. So that just the history of that. And I'm sure that there were other people that were in there that I don't know. There has to be prison records that we could go
Well, there were
look at.
enough people that they needed. It wasn't big enough.
Yeah, they needed a new
At one
prison.
point, they were like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this isn't going to work anymore." So,
Yeah, so there it was I read someplace where there were hundreds of prisoners in there, but there were only four to 8 cells. So, I mean, I guess you didn't get your own cell
I mean,
during that time, and it was
should it
more of
be
kind of a
comfortable? I don't know if it should be comfortable.
no.
So,
I guess it was more of a holding place. It wasn't meant for you to be there for years and years and years. It wasn't like
yeah,
Alcatraz. It
yeah,
was
it
kind
wasn't
of
a prison. It was a
yeah,
jail.
it was a jail.
Yeah.
So, that is my tea on the jail house. So,
I
there
think
you
there
go.
are, a lot of the newer residents of McKinney, they always seem surprised. They're like, "There's an old jail here?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah, it's right there.
yeah. It's right across from Cadillac Pizza."
Cadillac Pizza. So you can, which
Yeah,
Cadillac Pizza used to be an old newspaper.
that's right.
The newspaper used to run out of there.
Well, we should talk about that in future episodes of
Yes.
Historic
And
Find.
maybe we can go into Cadillac Pizza when you're in town and eat our favorite meal that we like to eat.
Best pizza
Yeah.
ever.
Yes.
Just
And it's the
saying.
best lunch deal.
That's right. There's a
Um,
little plug to Cadillac.
there you go. They do not
Hope
sponsor
your
us, but if they want
Historified
to, they
grows
can.
up.
Yeah, so we have some stuff going on around that's coming up. We talked about it last time, but we'll talk about a couple of them again today, just to let you know. We do have our Salute of Veterans that's coming up on May 6th. It's going to be a really great event, and our tickets are on sale. You can even sponsor a veteran if you want. Veterans are $5, and the regular tickets are $20, and if you wanted to, you could sponsor a veteran, and then we can refund the money of any veterans that sign up. What else is going on? Oh, on sale now, we have our military banners, our hometown heroes banners that we filled up almost one of our fences. I'm so excited. We're like
No,
almost
I
going to be in front
love
of
it.
the Delaney Cottage now too. So please,
Oh,
please, please honor a veteran or somebody
oh,
who's serving in the military.
I
Those are on
love
sale now.
that.
You can go to our website and click on that. We want to fill the whole village with honoring these men and women. So all the details of those are on our website. And then in May, we are going to have the craziest thing, our crazy days in May, which we are going to exhibit 56 crazy quilts that are all from the late 1800s to the early 1920s. They're beautiful. Oh my gosh, we finally curated them all. I say we, I was a cheerleader. But Dana finally curated them all. We have them all labeled. They're all ready to go. And yeah, so if you want something to do, and I realize that it's Memorial Day weekend, but if you have somebody that's coming in town who loves quilts, you have got to bring them to this quilt show. So all of that is again on our website. We are running a special where you get 20% off general admission tickets. And so go check that out on our website. And that's what we have going for May. And then in June, we will have our farm to table dinner. That's coming up. And we have Prairie Adventure Camp coming. So if you need a place for your child to experience something interesting and something new this summer, sign them up for Prairie Adventure Camp because that's always a great time.
It's a
Anything
lot.
else?
It's a lot. No,
It's a lot.
I just want to ask our listeners, our fellow McKinnians, to spread the word of our events because we are a nonprofit and the community support is what keeps the heart beating at Chestnut Square. So, spread the word of these events. The crazy days in May, I don't think people, I don't know, I can't really speak for anybody, but this is a very special exhibit. And this is not
Yes,
something you're going to see everywhere. This is like the kind of quilts that you're going to be able to view right in your own backyard in McKinney are the kind of quilts that you would see at like the Smithsonian
right. Some
or
of them could
along
be in the
those lines.
Smithsonian.
It is that technical. It is that historic. It's just unbelievable. I don't know if rare is the right word, but the number that we have is rare.
Yes.
And we definitely have some quilts in that are rare.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't the magnitude of it is just amazing. You wanna see some
Right.
serious skill, you have to check out these quilts.
Right, right. And it's not just for quilt lovers, it's also for if you do any textile work, if you do any
Mhm.
art, if you are into art. I'm speechless when I look at some of them. There's so much detail. And when you look at some of them, you see more detail. You see something
Mhm.
new every time you look at the same quilt. So yeah, it is going to be amazing. So you're going to want to come and you may as well save 20%, um,
Yeah.
and buy your ticket early.
I mean,
We even
these
have a
quilts are not.
VIP event that you can purchase tickets for, and you get to see an additional 30 quilts that are even older than the late 1880s quilts that we have. Some of them are even older than that. And again, oh my gosh, just the talent that the women, it's just, and the history that you see and the stories that these quilts could tell are
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, I think that it would be great for a teacher to bring some of their students and have them or homeschool, and you could write a story about doing the quilt. It is that phenomenal. And I'm not exaggerating. That is not an exaggeration. They are phenomenal.
Yeah. These aren't the kind of quilts that you're just going to go in anywhere and see.
No.
That's for sure. These are specialty quilts. Some of these quilts could have taken somebody a lifetime, depending on how much time they had to spend
Mhm.
on it. They're not, you know, done and zip, 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 and you can buy multiple of the same ones in different sizes
Right.
on Amazon. These are like, they're one of a kind. They're all one of a kind, and they're all
Mhm.
telling the story of the person who made them and their loved ones, their
Mhm.
family, the world, what was going on. So
Definitely.
it's
Yeah.
a really beautiful, just historic tribute to those who were, to the skill set, to those who quilted back then, to those who saved this and put it into their textiles right there on their lap or whatever whenever they
Yeah.
were working on it. And it's a really beautiful thing. So I really would hate to see people miss out on such an incredible exhibit and collection. It's
Right.
mind blowing. And I know we've said this multiple times, but I can't emphasize it enough and how mind blowing this collection is. And it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So, if you're not a quilt
Definitely.
person, this exhibit would make you a quilt person.
Right. Right.
So,
And if you're not a crazy quilt person, this exhibit will make you a crazy quilt person.
yeah,
Yeah,
you're going to
they're
walk
amazing.
you're going to walk out of this exhibit, of this special exhibit with so much more knowledge that you're gonna start noticing things, I swear, just because of all the little things on there, like what we looked for, like,
Yes,
"Where's this? Where's that?" We were looking for specific symbols, and we learned what they meant or what they
right.
symbolized, and you're gonna go in there, you don't have to know anything about quilts, but when you leave, you're gonna be like, "Oh, I don't know about that. I remember this," or "I'm look this now." So,
Yeah,
it's a
definitely.
lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think it's great. And then, yeah, I'm really excited for the Salute to Veterans too, because what a way to
Yes.
honor our servicemen and women in the community. What a beautiful way to honor. And we should give a shout out to our sponsors that we have for Salute to Veterans. So we got Modern Woodmen of America
Yes.
is
Uh-huh.
back sponsoring Salute to Veterans this year. They sponsored last year as well. And we have our Blue Star Mothers back this year. What a
Okay.
beautiful, wonderful nonprofit organization of mothers who currently have children serving.
Okay.
Star mother is a mom who has a child currently serving. That's what a blue
Mhm.
star is. So they're back as well. And then we have a new sponsor. We have the Advocate Health Advisors come on, and they are also supporting the Salute to Veterans event this year. So that's very exciting that we
Mhm.
have three wonderful sponsors who are just thrilled to be a part of this event to honor our service men and
Mhm.
women. So it's exciting.
And the new sponsor, they are a veteran-owned company. So
That's
that's great.
wonderful.
Yes. Yes.
Um, okay, and then Annie, we have a new speaker this year who is
His name is Mark Liebman, and he is a combat veteran from Vietnam. He's an author now. He was also in the Tanker Wars of the 90s and the Desert Shield, Desert Storm, who retired from the Navy as a captain after 26 years. So
wow.
he is going to share a little bit about some of his novels. And I know one of his novels has someone from McKinney in it. I believe. So I'm very excited. He seems like a really cool guy. So we're excited to bring him in. We're going to just salute the heck out of veterans. It's going to be a great fun thing. A great fun event to come to. Last year's was great. I know that some of the veterans who came who I've spoken with are looking forward to coming again this year. So
Okay.
you don't want to miss it. We have a new food sponsor. Her husband is a veteran as well. And so she's just working with us. We're going to have some great food this year and some other things that are going to be other surprises.
Yeah, and then we have Sizzle Entertainment back,
Yes, they're going
and
to be doing
he's
our sound.
yeah, and he's a veteran.
So
So
we
it's
just,
all around supporting veterans.
yes, definitely. So that is where that is going. And just please be sure to follow us, to like the podcast, to share the podcast with your friends. Follow us on our social media on Facebook, Instagram, go to our website, and just spread the word about Chestnut Square and about McKinney history because that is what we love to do here at Historified and at Chestnut Square Historic Village and Museum. And I think with that, Jamie, do you have anything else that you need to share?
I don't. Just to come back for next month where we're going to, discuss more historic sites in McKinney.
Yes. So have a great day and we'll see you next month. Bye.